Hi, and welcome to Kinesiology 5312. This class is going to be about your master's thesis. This module is going to introduce us to this project and how we'll be addressing all of the parts of the project over the next 8 weeks and then ultimately over the 8 weeks after that. This slide lets us look at the big picture of what we will be attacking over this 8 weeks and then the following 8 weeks. There are 5 chapters that we will be looking at in order to address our master's thesis. Throughout these next 8 weeks, we will roughly get through the first 2 chapters and a part of chapter 3. We'll be doing that introduction of our problem and purpose. We'll also be completing our lit review. And third, we'll be getting part of our methods done as well. This gives us, though, a big picture of what our project looks like, and obviously all 5 chapters will be completed by the time we've completed this thesis course. So what is research? For us, we want to be thinking about this process is more than just doing some internet searching, but rather it's a systematic process of discovery and advancement of human knowledge. Obviously, the goal of our research then is to some way advance our knowledge about the sport management discipline and particularly some area of interest to you. So what are the purposes of research? There are a number of them. First, we will be investigating an existing situation. That situation is going to be up to you and your choosing for your research topic. In addition, you'll be thinking about providing solutions to this problem. You'll explore and think about general issues that apply to it. You'll construct or create a new procedure. That is that concept of you will be doing research, conducting research, thinking about research as a verb, the action portion. And lastly, you'll be explaining some new phenomenon. This will come in the form of reporting your results and your discussion. All in all, why do we do research and or what is its purpose? Because we want to be able to expand our knowledge on the sport management profession as it applies to you as a student, an academic, and ultimately a practitioner. As we started off this module, we indicated it would give us a little bit of an overarching view or a big picture of what we're doing. I think this slide gives us some really good information about this distinction between doing qualitative or quantitative research. If we think about qualitative, we need to think about it on that left-hand side, those items in orange. It's narrative data. We can do it through historical and legal research, observation and case study research, and we can also use surveys, interviews, and focus groups. We'll be talking about those specific ways to conduct research later in our term. On that right-hand side is what we would call quantitative research. It's a concern with numerical data. There's 4 things that I think makes this helpful. You can think about it as descriptive research. We want to describe an outcome. There's also relationship prediction. We use correlation. Also with that, cause-effect. There's that causal comparative research. And finally, we can think about cause-effect relationship with an independent variable manipulated. That's more like experimental research. All in all, you will get to make the decision on how you want to do research in your project and or what our research design you want to choose. We'll begin later in the term. We'll be dealing more at length with qualitative and quantitative information. This slide and the next 2 slides are going to give us some insight into some common research concepts. They deal with philosophies and or frameworks. First of all, as you're reading the research, you may come across some terms, ontology and epistemology. We need to make sure that we understand the distinction between, and it will help us think about a couple things. So first, ontology is the study of knowledge. It deals specifically with questions concerning what entities exist or can be said to exist and how these entities can be grouped. It is, or does, addresses the question, what is? So for example, if we think about what is sport management? Secondly, epistemology. This is a philosophical study of how such knowledge is acquired. It ultimately assumes we know about the presence of a construct because of the knowledge we have about it. This helps us address this concept of how or what. So, for example, how do sport managers influence sport? Or what do sport managers do to influence the business of sport? Ultimately, these philosophies help ground us or ground our research. The next two slides give us some information about research paradigms. You can think about research paradigms as potentially some of the guiding force behind the way at which we choose or turn to lead towards qualitative, quantitative, and ultimately mixed methods research approaches. First is post-positivism. This stresses the need to identify and assess causes that influence outcome. They begin with theory and collect data to support the theory with the intention of making revisions. Then there's constructivism. This stresses the need to seek understanding of the world in which we live and work and develop subjective meanings from these experiences. It recognizes that meanings are constructed by individuals as they engage in the world. Particularly, you should be able to recognize that constructivism offers these open-ended questions, and an individual with a constructivism research paradigm would probably ultimately lend towards qualitative research. Our last two paradigms are advocacy or participatory paradigm and pragmatism. That advocacy paradigm insists that research is connected to politics and political agenda. Therefore, they focus on bringing about change or reform. Pragmatism is concerned with applications and solutions. The emphasis is on the research problem and the approaches to understanding the problem rather than focusing on the methods in and of themselves. Table 1.1 in your text offers a great breakdown of these various types of approaches and helps us think about then if we view our research based upon which paradigm, therefore which type of research it lends towards, qualitative, quantitative, and or ultimately mixed methods. I think you'll find that helpful as you begin to think about the approach you want to take to your own research. Our last big picture item we need to think about and consider is whether or not we'll be using human subjects in our research project. According to the Institutional Review Board, or IRB, at Houston Baptist University, they require that we complete human subject paperwork if we are indeed going to be using human subjects. This also falls in line with the APA standards. So what does that look like and what does this do? Human subject paperwork is designed to protect the participants involved in the research. In addition, it gets informed consent from participants that they know and understand the risks involved and are associated with completing the research, and they give consent to be involved in the research. The next slide links you to that very paperwork. If you do intend upon using human subjects, this paperwork will need to be completed prior to any research you do or engage with humans.
In order to protect participants, it is necessary to complete IRB approval. This includes human subject paperwork and adult as well as parental consent forms, if necessary. This paperwork can be found under Module 1. In addition, in order to protect participants, I'm going to ask that you complete CD training. The details for this training also can be found under Module 1.